In the spring of 1940, the world witnessed one of the most shocking military collapses in modern history. France, one of the great powers of Europe, armed with millions of soldiers and supported by Britain, fell to Nazi Germany in just 6 weeks. How could a nation with such a proud military tradition and a reputation as the strongest army in Europe collapse so quickly? This is the story of the fall of France. To understand the disaster of 1940, we must return to the years after the First World War. France had suffered greatly. Over 1 million soldiers dead, a generation scarred, and vast regions devastated. Determined never to face German aggression again, France built the Maginot Line, a vast series of fortifications stretching along its border with Germany. The French military believed this wall of steel and concrete would guarantee security. Meanwhile, in Germany, Adolf Hitler was rebuilding. Rearming in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles, Hitler promised revenge for Germany's humiliation in 1918. By 1939, his armies were the most modern and mobile in the world. When Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, Britain and France declared war. Yet for months, little happened on the Western Front. This period became known as the Phony War. French soldiers stayed behind their fortifications, while British troops arrived but took little action. The French High Command believed time was on their side, that Germany would eventually crumble under blockade, just like in 1918. But Hitler had other plans. Germany's strategy was bold, almost reckless. Hitler's generals proposed attacking not where France was strongest, but where it was weakest. Instead of a direct assault on the Maginot Line, German forces struck through Belgium and the Ardennes Forest, an area the Allies thought was too dense for tanks. This was the essence of Blitzkrieg, lightning war, fast-moving armored columns supported by aircraft aimed not just to fight, but to shock, confuse, and surround the enemy. On May 10, 1940, Germany struck. In the north, German troops invaded the Netherlands and Belgium, drawing the bulk of Allied armies forward. But in the center, the main thrust came through the Ardennes. The French believed the terrain was impassable for large armies, but in just 2 days, German tanks had broken through. On May 14th, the French defensive line at Sedan collapsed under a ferocious air assault. Panic spread, French units broke and fled, while German panzers surged westward at breathtaking speed. Within a week, German forces had reached the English Channel, splitting the Allied armies in two. Hundreds of thousands of British and French troops were trapped in a pocket around the port of Dunkirk. Operation Dynamo was launched, a desperate attempt to evacuate as many men as possible across the Channel. From May 26th to June 4th, an armada of naval vessels and civilian boats rescued over 330,000 soldiers. It was a miracle of survival, but also a symbol of defeat. France had lost its best armies, and the road to Paris lay open. With its armies shattered, France was now defenseless. German tanks swept south, bypassing strongpoints, while the Luftwaffe pounded retreating forces. On June 10th, Italy joined the war, attacking France from the south. 4 days later, German troops entered Paris. The French government, paralyzed by shock and political divisions, abandoned the capital. On June 22, 1940, France signed an armistice with Germany in the very same railway carriage where Germany had surrendered in 1918. For Hitler, it was a moment of ultimate revenge. How could a mighty power fall in just 6 weeks? Historians point to several reasons. Rigid French strategy. They relied too heavily on the Maginot Line. Slow mobilization. French and British forces were unprepared for rapid maneuver warfare. German innovation. Blitzkrieg exploited speed, coordination, and shock. Poor leadership. The French High Command was divided and outdated, while Germany had daring commanders like Guderian and Rommel. The result was not just a military defeat, it was a national trauma. The fall of France changed the course of history. Britain now stood alone against Nazi Germany. For the French people, defeat brought years of occupation, resistance, and suffering. The 6-week campaign of 1940 remains a stark reminder. Wars are not always won by the strongest on paper, but by those who adapt, innovate, and strike when least expected. This was the fall of France, how Germany conquered Europe in just 6 weeks.